Yeah, so like as I was talking about with this podcast, like it's never been something I've wanted to do around brand, around down up or anything like that. It's the first reasons why I wanted to set it up was to try and capture some of the history of indoor cricket. So talking to past players, getting their view on the game, how it used to be played, so that all that's captured and not lost. So people of our generation now, or the people who are the highest level now, even people in Super League and in-house and that who love indoor cricket can go look back on the history of it and understand what the game, how it used to be played, and I guess how the skills have changed and how the game's changed the way it's been played as well. Funnily enough, it hasn't really ventured down that track yet. I've sort of hovered around a bit of safety because I've been a bit nervous about this, and I guess trying to build my confidence up over doing it by talking to people like yourself. I mean, you've helped immensely. The first time we did this was like, it went so well. I got this buzz in my body after, it's fizzing after it, because it was so natural and so easy. It was really a bit of a surprise, because I thought it was just gonna be a butcher job.
Yeah.
and it ended up so easy though, eh?
Yeah, it was like that when I first started putting myself out there on social media. Sorry, it can be nerve-wracking, especially, I suppose now you've got a little bit of confidence, you know what you're about and that you can do it. And that took me a long time to get around in my head, to be honest. And it still does now. Like, I have found that some days I try and force it personally.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely try and force it, like putting something up for the sake of putting it up. Whereas if you can find a relaxed atmosphere and I get relaxed around you, that's when sort of the good stuff starts coming out. I love the idea of it more because it's just going to get more people engaged inside the community. Like, if we can bring more, I say we, but if through this you can bring more people back into the community, like the people that have experienced it and had an awesome job and they were giving back, so we get more coaches in the game, more people helping out at an administration level, sharing their knowledge, and that's how the game grows, right?
100%, 100%.
Too many people get lost inside the game.
Yeah,
or just completely.
One of the things I'm really stoked to see so far, because I've been training quite hard since I ended January pretty much. I got back from my holidays and that. So the past 4 weeks I've been really starting to drive things up now. Like I haven't bothered doing a full-on training pre-seasons for indoor cricket pretty much my whole career. And then when you look on social media and look at what guys are doing individually and stuff like that, there's a bit of chat starting around and some guys are putting in some hard work. A lot of the chat that's coming out of the stuff that you've been doing, which we'll talk about. And it's actually really interesting to see, man. And there are going to be some surprises this year on how well I think people are playing, and early on in the season, not sort of waiting mid-season and then in towards the Nationals at the end of the season where guys really start hitting their straps. I think we'll see it a hell of a lot earlier and from different people, because there's some guys who are really dedicated to the sport, man, and how good they can be.
I wonder if we're thinking about some of the same people here, because I follow them on social media as well, and it's good to see them having a crack. I think it's really important in terms of New Zealand that we start early this year, because everything's happening really quick. So if anyone has aspirations to play a high level, the Queen's birthday up here, and down south too, I think that's where the provincial teams get picked. And then provincials is a month later, and that's when New Zealand's getting picked, or in those grades. So you've got a month window to be at your best to give yourself an opportunity. Yeah. And if you wait till April, May to start going, and then hope that Queen's birthday comes around and you go, all right, you've left it too late.
That's it, man.
And which is cool, because I know that's what they do in Aussie. Teams get picked earlier. They start training earlier. By the time they get to the state champs, everyone's in their best, shape. But I can't say I've ever really experienced that in New Zealand. You've seen some people do it, but not all. Some teams do it, but not all. So.
And even like our harbour guys are even starting to talk about pre-seasons and playing a bit of in-house to get moving, and that's really cool to see. Even the older heads around the competition are keen to keep improving, keep pushing the limits. And I know we've had this chat before. We've historically, I think 35 plus, you've got to be bowing out and letting the young guys come through. But that's changed, and I think guys, as long as they look after their bodies and stay strong, stay fit, they become better players than the rest of the group, because they've got that experience as well as the physical ability to be able to carry.
And you can offer more. We need more of it too. Like, that's why we're bringing back those players you was talking about before. Like, if they're in and around creating buzz, helping these young players competing, getting in amongst it, right?
Yeah.
I'm all for it, man. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, so with Harbour, last year you guys probably slipped up in a position at Club Nationals where you probably weren't expecting that to happen. I don't think anyone was. And I'm not just bringing it up because of my team.
Not at all.
Do you think that helps? Like, you've had some success over the last 2-3 years, so to get slipped up in a place where you're like,
we
that
know
wasn't supposed to happen.
We let ourselves down big time against you guys. And, I mean, you guys are amazing. And I think, you know, when we look back on it, and I mean this with absolute respect, I think that game there we lost, you guys took it and won it.
100%.
You played probably the best cricket you could have as a unit, maybe not individually, but certainly as a unit, and we didn't. I think if we did, the result might have been a little bit different. I think that tournament was definitely ours to take, especially when I see the result and the effect our semi-final had on your guys' performance in the final.
Yeah, we were done.
You were done,
and
done. Mate, a lot of teams would have been, you know. And would we have been good enough to beat that Central side in the final? We would have backed ourselves, I think.
100%.
And, you know, I think the way that we our processes of how we play the game, especially in the New Zealand environment or the Auckland environment, especially, really works. And actually, I just had this chat about this with Darren Crook a couple of nights ago. That it's quite interesting to gather whether the other teams around have actually cottoned on to how we've progressed it a little bit. I think there are some intelligent guys like yourself around, real good match awareness around to probably recognise and try and feed that through the teams and their players. But a lot of the times, just wonder whether it goes over the head of some guys as well, and how we actually really look to apply pressure at certain moments of the game, and how we do that. It's pretty interesting.
I did so if I was to delve a little bit deeper into what I see your team do, and I mean you've got some advantages too because of especially who you can bowl at the back end, so you can apply a whole lot of pressure at the back end.
100%.
I think personally it's the best time to apply pressure because that's when a team's most likely to break. You can survive a bad over or a bad start, and because it doesn't affect the outcome of the game as much as something as the 10th, 11th, 13th over can do to that, how much it can actually affect the game. It can just change the direction so much faster than applying that same amount of pressure in the second over. Every team can recover. And I also like the aggressiveness of how you open up. I mean, I think it's important. I think it's going to be important across the board long term that all peers are aggressive, that all peers have back net options and are far more aggressive. So, if I was just the bird's eye view from what I see from you guys, I could be well off. I don't know, but that's just my first thought.
Yeah, you're pretty close. It's how we've been sort of developing. We've had chats about how we can go a little bit further on again, and you're right. I mean, a lot of teams are restricted by their resources as well, right? And thankfully we've got a unit that's stuck together and played together a lot, so there's a lot of trust around and what other guys will do with their job and how they're going to execute, and I guess the regularity of it. And our bowling unit has always helped us, but there's other areas that I think we can do a little bit better. I take a huge amount of confidence from that test series last year, that Trans-Tasman test series, New Zealand, Australia. We really saw someone like Victor Davies who opened up and really not let the Australians get on top of them with really full bowling, because full bowling actually ended up being the key. The fuller the guys went, especially in that second test where they really dominated, Australia really dominated New Zealand, that full length really devastated the game, and the Kiwi guys were a little bit slow to be able to pick up and really take care of it. The third game, we had Victor come out and go, well, you're going to keep bowling there, well, guess what? I'm actually going to bash you. And if you get it wrong, it's going to really hurt you. And they just kept going there, and they kept going there. And Victor really took over. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because I do believe that full bowling, that full length is key in Super League and even first class cricket over here. But if you've got guys in the box prepared to go and deal with that and not afraid to get out and make mistakes, you're going to hurt.
You definitely get hurt. And this is where the game's going, and it has to go, right? Like, it's almost gone too far defensive or too far front half, or people are worried. I was talking to a young player the other day, training a few guys now about, I really want to work on my leg side down up, for example. And I asked them why, and the first question was because, well, that's what everyone does. That's the perceived of what indoor cricket's supposed to look like. But why not smash that half volley on leg stump for 5 or 7? Why not put that in your armoury instead of giving it that one, which everyone knows is coming. So we're going to see some changes, man. And that's the best thing about six ball. I know you've spoken about it before, like you'd rather play the longer form of the game. But six ball, now it just turns on a dime. And the back net can change your game. So there'll be some changes, man. It'll happen quick. And I think especially for the emerging nations, I know you got an English shirt up there. Once I think they get a little bit more aggressive, spent some time over at Singapore just recently. If they can get a little bit more aggressive, start hitting the back net earlier, then they can apply pressure that way instead of trying to play like the top tier nations are playing now. So I'm with you, man. I'm all for aggression now and applying pressure at different stages. Yeah,
I've actually got that up there for a reason. And I usually have an Aussie shirt up there, but I kind of thought that it'd be good to have an English shirt up there just to celebrate Down Up. So Down Up's going to be going into UK this year, which is awesome. We've got a distributor over there, Paul Knight, who'd be familiar to New Zealand guys here. He's moved over there and he's willing to take the brand on, which is awesome. So we've got stuff arriving with him basically as we speak. I think it is towards the end of the season over there a little bit, but it's a long game. So we've got.
Yeah, I think they had their last game last night. The Super League finished last night.
Right. One of the guys right. So I mean, you've been in touch with those guys as well. I mean, the feedback we're getting through Paul is that. The game's growing. The junior program there is really, really strong. The women's program's really strong there as well. And now it's just a case of getting that quantity of players to a higher level and start competing and being better from, when you start talking about from a global game perspective and how good they are versus the other countries.
Yeah, it sounds like they're getting their core message, or there's a core group of people driving it now, which maybe wasn't there before. Right. But yeah, like you said, it's on social media. They've created like an IPL style competition where players get drafted and they try and create some more even teams. They're doing that across the grades at the moment, especially in the junior grades. So it sounds like they'll be pushing forward. Like they've obviously been hurting the last few years for whatever's going on, whether it's because owning a centre in London's almost impossible now. Well, it is impossible. It clearly is. So them rallying the troops and getting them together, it's going to be pretty exciting for them, I'm sure. Yeah,
I think they've gone through maybe that long transition program. Like I don't know too much about English game except that it used to be on TV in the mid '90s, early '90s. It was on TV, and they got high profile outdoor first class players. Mike Gatting played for a season back in the years, and some really strong cricketers.
What would he play like? I'm going to see the big burly guy just like...
He's on YouTube. You can see it.
Oh, right.
You can see it. So a good mate of mine, Grant Thorpe, and his brother Spence used to play against him. And there is a game on YouTube you can get where they just absolutely dominate them, absolutely smash them over.
How many people listening would even know who Mike Gatting is? That's way, so for those who don't know, he's the one that got bowled the ball of the century by Shane Warne, right?
Ball of the
I'd love to see him play indoor. Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to check that
out. Yeah. So, I think that they've gone from, a bit of hype and some money thrown at it and some particular people that were involved there that really threw some energy at it. And they've gone through this sort of elongated transition period where it's really just taken, like you said before, just a real core group of people who have just gone, you know what, we're gonna do something for the sport here, and we're going to get ourselves back on the map and get moving. And perhaps they've recognised it through getting, quantity of people in, and junior programs I think is just absolutely vital. We all know that here now, and the more clubs over here that can really start help drive into the school programs and things like that, all the better. Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's watch the space for them. I think South Africa's done some work, and have some amazing cricketers over the last few years, and maybe they're looking for a bit more consistency now and getting themselves up into finals at World Cups. And from women's perspective, they're hugely strong. So we'll see where that takes them, I guess. So, mate, this is the first podcast of the year. This is great. So
was it a year ago?
No, of the year for 2020. But it's funny because it's been. So I did five episodes before Christmas, and then Christmas rolled around. It's summer, so we're out of season, and I tend to, unless I'm around indoor cricket heads talking indoor cricket or playing it, so I can observe it and take stuff in, absolutely crap at talking about it.
Get that inspiration.
It's really, it is. It's really, really weird. But I had a good chat with some guys on the weekend. It was really cool and a catch up. Talking to you frequently as well, and so my head's spinning in the right circles at the moment. But great, it's a great opportunity to talk to you at the moment because you've just made the massive change in your life. And your family, and you're relocated, and do you want to talk us what you're doing there?
Well, we're on our way to relocate. We still haven't actually made the move.
Right.
So last year, it was actually in South Africa. We're taking a break. We realised, I spoke to Mandy when I got home, realised that, we probably wanted to take the family somewhere else, somewhere a bit more relaxed. So the Mount is definitely, I'm in Jandals now. If I could spend my whole life in Jandals, I would. So the Mount is the destination. And so we're working on getting a house down there and sorting that out. Sold my gym end of last year. Started this new business online, and that seems to be going quite well. So this year's been quite exciting for me. Nerve-wracking, like you starting this. I didn't think what indoor cricketer in the world wants to work with me and do some work, but turns out there's a few out there, so we've been able to get started. And,
we created such a good following with this Matt-Henderson on indoor. That you've got a lot of followers in that now, relatively speaking. Like you've set yourselves up with a really good platform, right, that you'd be able to build from.
It was funny. Like it was never really the intention. It was just like I think it was when I started it. I was injured at the time, and I'd just been watching indoor cricket, and I just wanted to talk about it somewhere. And because of personal training and owning gyms and stuff, you're a little bit savvy on social media. So, I was looking back at it now, it was pretty woeful, but I had the guts to do something about it. And so writing a few posts, sharing some stuff, I thought, it'd be worth doing. I've, like you, have been lucky enough, because when we first started out, we probably got identified quite early. I don't know about you, but in terms of indoor, so when I came in from outdoor, I had coaches coming up and other players coming up and saying, look, you got a bit of talent, let's work with you. And so I was really lucky with all the people I got to spend time with and learn from and get better with. And then I just realised, look, what about all the people that don't have that opportunity? Don't get that chance to work with good players, work with good coaches, experience that sort of stuff. I just had to really wanted to share it because there's so many people in my club, if I had a conversation with them, it would just blow their mind. I'm like, well, we talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where it started. And now, with all the study I've done, strength and conditioning, time working with black caps, playing the game at a high level, I feel like I can give back and really help people realise their potential, see what they're actually capable of, putting it all together for them. So we've got 20 people have started already, still teething, working out some issues, how to deliver it, but it's coming together quite nicely, so I'm pretty excited to see where it goes.
20 people a month, man. That's great. You haven't even set up on your base yet.
I put up one post literally, and got enough phone call conversations to have. Like, there's someone in England, I got someone in Singapore, a couple in Victoria, Australia, a lot in New Zealand. Also, gave me the opportunity to go to Singapore and run a 4-day camp over there. And that was brilliant. I realised then, actually getting off the plane on the way back, that it's something I really want to do. Yeah. I've geeked out and been a nuffy on the sport too long, and now there's an opportunity to stay in it and provide for the family, but also help a whole lot of people. Experience what we've been able to do. Go play international tournaments and connect with some amazing people, and to understand that feeling of what it feels like to get the best out of yourself. I want to help people achieve that.
I can't help thinking what having that sort of person around, or people around, when I was 15, 16, 17 growing up, like, you certainly had a lot of influences around and different people, other players that would take you under their wing and things like that. But to actually have a go-to person that you could really identify, physically as well, where you need to work on and be best at. I often wonder, when it comes to, say, strength and conditioning, or your physical attributes of where people need to be, and what are some of the key things that you really try and target on with people? What are you really focusing on?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing for what I'm realising now, bringing everyone in and working with the general public, because as much as we like to think we're athletes, we're not. We are general public. We've got normal stresses. We don't function like those top people do, where you know, and a Jimmy Neesham or a Corey Anderson, or when those guys came
Well, we're
in.
not training full time for a start. I mean,
No,
that's a
exactly.
massive
Well, it's probably not so much
disadvantage.
the training, it's the recovery. You know, they've got time to not stress about work or where the next dollar's coming from, or, you know, worried about traffic, or, you know, they get to put their feet
Let's
up.
keep this a little closer.
Sorry, they get to put their feet up after a hard session, so they just recover better than we do. You know, a lot of us, we're up on our phones late at night, not getting enough sleep, and then we force ourselves into the gym in the morning, and then, you know, we train incorrectly because we push ourselves too hard on a body that's already struggling. So I think one of the biggest things that's coming from this process so far, and it's affected me and a whole lot of players I think in the future, is realising that you should train at a lower level and get your body in a place where it's healthy first. You can't have performance without health. And, you know, for example, a really easy way to find out whether, you know, you're in a healthy spot or not is to check your resting heart rate in the morning. If it's above 60, you probably definitely could be better and be working at a lower level, improving your heart function, improving the way the body functions, because then we can get more output out of you later on. Whereas I see 99% of the population will go to the gym and smash themselves thinking that's what I need to do to get better because I need to work harder to be better, right? Well, it's a big issue in my book. So the first phase with a lot of our guys at the moment is I'm working on their base, so that their heart beats at a lower rate for the majority of the time. They get oxygen to where it needs to get to the muscles, to the brain. I think that's probably the number one most important thing. They sleep better, they're more relaxed, they're not as stressed, because those are the things holding people back.
So talk me, because my understanding on making the body stronger is that you stress out, let's say, a bicep or a forearm muscle or whatever muscle you're talking about. You stress that muscle out, you damage it a little bit, and then you allow it to recover, to grow, and when it grows bigger and stronger.
Yeah, no, maybe bodybuilding. Yeah, when it comes to performance, you know, you don't really want too much damage sometimes. The most important thing is to make sure that the message going from your brain to your fingertip when you're bowling that ball is nice and clear, you know, and that there's no leaks, no energy links in the body. So that's another thing. So that's the second phase I go to, is like, okay, how are the joints? Are they functioning the way we want them to function? You know, a lot of people's shoulders are internally rotated because they're like this all day. And so when they try and bowl, they get cramped up, they feel a pinch in the front. So one of the first places I have to go to, I haven't sort of seen a cricketer that I haven't had to do this with yet, is to bring that back into position so it can rotate really well. You know, so you can throw with power and venom and without pain. So another thing that holds you back and adds stress is pain and dysfunction. So that's really, really important. So the majority of people will look on Instagram and, you know, those people we were talking about before who are going hard right now, they're working up here, this high level, because they've seen LeBron James do it, or, you know, they're superstar, but they don't realise, hey, actually you're down here and you need to go through these steps first to even think about doing that. But in my mind, I don't think indoor players even need to go that high. Like, I reckon it's a really simple process to be better than 99% of people out on court. And that's what I'm teaching physically. Obviously, strength's important, because the stronger you are, the faster you are, but it's the way you do it. We spoke about a player last year. I'm not going to name him, but I think you might remember him. He was quite a quick bowler, and he got himself quite big. He's at the high echelon in New Zealand standards at the moment. He's obviously got stronger, obviously got bigger, but it slowed him down in terms of being able to bowl quickly. Now that's an example of doing weight training incorrectly for your sport, or incorrectly for performance. Man, I can talk to you about this for days, man, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there on how to prepare the body for this. And sometimes you do need to make your muscle bigger, but the majority of people in indoor cricket, no, not really. You know, we've just got to function better, move better. And fitness-wise too, that's the biggest one that irks me the most, is like, I'm going to quickly go into the science really fast just so you can get a rough idea. So we work at this level, right? This is aerobically. So this is what we're doing right now. We're sitting here, we're using oxygen to create energy so we can talk. And right now my jaw's going more than yours, but we'll work on that.
It's fun.
Yeah. So there's this base level, right? Then when we play cricket, it's really explosive. You know, when you bowl the ball, we come off 3 or 4 steps and we let rip. That's the next energy system. It lasts about 10 seconds, all right? Takes a wee while to replenish that 10 seconds, but, you know, that's the next one. Then there's 2 more above that. What I see is everyone's working at this level up here and not realising that cricket's actually played down here. Cricket's actually low level stuff where you're walking around, where you're relaxed, you're breathing, you're getting your breath down, or the really explosive stuff. So anyone who's going to those fitness trainings at the local gym right now to do those classes, I'm not going to name some names, but I'm thinking of some, they're working really hard up here, and then they end up playing up here, and they're playing in a stressed out body. You know, their heart rate's higher. So they're not going to be able to think as clear, they're not going to be able to execute their skills as well. There's probably some dysfunction in the way their body's moving because they've been doing press-ups all the time instead of the stuff that makes the shoulder explode better through the throw and through the bowl. The ball, whatever. So yeah, like there's those are probably the three biggest things, right? So low level, get your base, lower the stress in the body so it can actually perform and that it's healthy, so you sleep well, that you function well day to day. Secondly, doing the right weight training to make sure your joints are nice and stable. You know, they're not going to break down or leak energy. And thirdly, that's when you go into performance. But that sort of takes at least 8 to 10 weeks to do that first couple of phases.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's people you talked about that maybe like F45 classes or doing those high energy HIIT programs and that sort of thing. They're still going to be fitter than a lot of the guys around.
Yeah.
though.
So like let's see who we're working with here, right? So like to be in the top 10% for sure, or maybe the top 20% of athletes in terms of physically, yeah, do those classes. You'll be in the top 20%. I'm talking about getting in the top 10, top 5, top 1. Like, what can you do to really maximize what you're capable of? And this is the step I'm trying to make inside indoor is like, it's great that people are doing fitness, and I'm not going to knock them whatsoever. Like, if the best thing you can do right now is go to a class 3 times a week, then do it, because you're going to get in the top 20%.
Go for it.
Yeah. But there is another step. And it's a clear another step for mine, and it makes a massive difference.
Wow.
Yeah, massive difference.
Okay. So when we talk, so that'll be about physical attributes, physical strength,
power, speed. Our game's a speed strength sport. It's reactive, boom, boom, boom. So you need to teach that reactiveness. Make sure the body can react like that. It's another thing with those classes. If you train slow, you'll be slow. So if you're doing 45 minutes non-stop, you're not doing that as fast as you can, are you? Because you can't. So you need to train differently so you can go bang, bang, react, rest, react, react, rest, react, react, rest. It's different. It's different.
Do you get yourself involved in nutrition programs for your clients as well?
Yeah, so we're going to be rolling that out soon. I've got a fairly clear philosophy on nutrition. I think the word's agnostic, so I don't describe to anything. I think people should be free to choose what they want to choose. But there's parameters in each, like diet, like paleo, what are the other ones? Atkins, keto. There's parameters that you need to hit inside of them. And as long as you can stay consistent with those parameters, then you're good. So an example for that is getting the right amount of protein each day. Across the board, people don't get it. And that's what we're made of. You know, so if you're not getting enough protein, you're going to age faster, you're not going to recover fast. It's a big issue. That's one of the biggest places I go to, but you can get enough protein in all those diets, so they're all good as long as you stick to it and getting that right.
I've always like how many seasons playing, however many, and every like tournament that will come up or there's no real major focus on how I'm going to eat during that tournament. At what times, I don't really plan or map it out. I don't think I eat badly, but there actually is no real plan towards it. You know, we've gone away from those days where mid-afternoon on the Saturday we're off to KFC to just munch up, and I think a few of the boys are still able to do that, but there's no chance in hell I can do that or have done it. But things like, bananas before every game and that sort of thing, just to keep the nutrients right and rebuild potassium levels, and it's good energy source for like that short, sharp movements like you're talking about. But do you reckon there's any there must be some really good, strong nutrition setup you could have for, say, a tournament, to build up for a tournament?
Well, the thing I teach my athletes, and this is funny because I remember going over and playing with South Australia, and they asked me to put something together for the team. And I went over there on the first day, and I wrote out a plan, and we put all our games in, and I said, okay, we need to do this here, this here, this here. And it completely blew their mind. They were like, well, this is incredibly simple for me, but no one's thinking about it, so don't feel bad about it. I'm just glad that a lot of people aren't doing what we're here at Action Christchurch, and the majority of people will just shoot down to Burger King and fuel up that way. So I'm glad, like you said, those days are gone. But I can probably give you something right now that anyone watching could use, because you can slot it in regardless of whether you're playing a game or you're training or day-to-day, which is quite simple. So one thing I look for in a tournament is a game window. So what a game window is. And for me, a game window starts about 3 hours before the game starts, and then I'd finish it about an hour after. So you've got about a 5 hour window, right?
Yeah.
So about 3 hours out before that game starts, you want to be making sure that you have a decent meal. You know, this is a great place to start for most people. You know, there are different ways of doing it. I want to be clear about that. Like, everyone's different, but for the vast majority, this will work really well. So a big meal, and what you want that to consist of is definitely some protein. Okay, so protein is going to help you recover, and one way I like to look at it is a palm of protein. So maybe like a chicken thigh, for example. A man would probably use 2 of those, female 1 of those, and that should be in your meal. So what else does that look like? A few eggs and some bacon, or a piece of steak, or something like that. That'll definitely help big time. And the next thing is sort of some sort of vegetable, because vitamins and minerals are really important for us to make energy. So 1 to 2 fistfuls of vegetables. Create a salad. You don't need to get too outrageous, but I mean, if you can see that on your plate, great. And because we're an explosive sport, we're going to be using carbohydrate, and especially in a tournament, we're going to be using a lot of it. Definitely at least a cup of some form of carbohydrate, and rice, potatoes, pasta. It's all good. All right. So if you can go protein, vegetables, and some carbs, 3 hours out, it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe an hour out, you might want something light and something to snack on. Usually by then I don't worry about it, because everyone's personal, right? So sometimes I get a bit nervous before a game, and I'd rather just sit with it and not eat too heavy. Some other people might do the opposite for them. They get really hungry, right? Yeah. So something a little bit lighter that packs a little bit of a punch, like a smoothie or a banana and a yogurt, some berries with that. It's something that's not going to be too heavy on the stomach, so you can actually play well. So that's probably the first part of it. I'll go into more detail in my last hour, but we don't need to worry about that right now. And then afterwards, now you're going to be sweating heaps. Like if you're really going for it, especially on a day like today or at a big tournament, so plenty of liquids, plenty of fluids. Powerades and things of that nature, a better option than what most people are doing, which is either nothing or a Coke or something like that. So definitely go to that. For me, it's just water. Water's enough, because if you're already fit, you're not expending too much out on the court. All right. So, but if you're really unfit and not well, then definitely get into that. And then, a meal about an hour after. All right, so something to replenish everything you've used. What I've found works is that meal 1 hour after generally is the start of the next window of the next game of the day. I'm talking World Cups here and state champs and stuff. So 5 hour window, start with a big meal. About an hour out, player dependent, you might want a little snack. Within an hour of playing, replenish. And fluids all the way through. Really simple. You can do that with you're going to the gym tomorrow? Yeah. Same deal. 3 hours before the gym, 1 hour out, you might have a little snack. Then you train. Then an hour after, so you can practice it. Find out what works best for you. But that'd be a good place to start. Yeah.
What about guys that are on like an intermittent fasting program, maybe ketogenic diet, something like that, where those diets are pretty much made up of really high fat content, so around that sort of 70%, maybe 65% fat. You look at maybe 20-25% protein and 5-10% carbs, or even none at all. So if someone was on a program like that and leading into a gym session the next day and that sort of thing, there's still ways you can work around that.
Yeah, I'm still because
you're talking about training at these these first 2 levels of
higher levels
of fitness,
100%. And
so that keto program could work quite well, right?
Absolutely brilliant, especially when we're working on that base health. Really good, because you want to be stripping body fat down, because another sign if you're not healthy is if you're holding on to body fat, and the ketogenic diet works really well for that. Lots of diets do, but if we were to break down the ketogenic one, the standard ketogenic recommendations were built a long time ago, and we've found out now that you can still get into ketosis or still have a ketogenic diet as such on a higher protein diet.
Yeah.
All right, so making sure you're getting that 2 grams of protein per kilogram per day, and then once you do that, then top up with the fats. That absolutely works well. I dare say you're not going to find too many really high-end athletes. Again, the answer is it depends. It depends on how hard and physical the nature of the training and the sport is, because you do need carbohydrates, you know. But to get yourself down to a level of leanness, I'm a big fan of ketogenic diet. It's brilliant. It's really simple. It's easy to do, and matched with the right training is brilliant. Yeah. If you want to start raising the intensity of your training, then you definitely want to be thinking about, okay, how am I going to fuel that? Because turning protein and fat into carbohydrate is a slow process. But if you've already got carbohydrate in the system because you've eaten it, you know, because it's stored, then you can put more output in. Yeah.
So with the programs that you're developing, are they individual for your player? Do they have a lot of? You get a client on board. You know, what do you want to achieve? All the right questions early on, and then you'll tailor that and then just go bang. Here's your program, and let's work together on it. Or are they pretty much all based around similar sort of setups?
Okay, so like I go through that process with everyone, right? So first one, I get them to do a questionnaire just to see where they're at, physically as well as mentally, because it's interesting listening and talking to, you know, young players, how they look at the game and, you know, how they break down their strengths and weaknesses. So it's not just physically I'm working, I'm definitely a lot with their game as well. And then you get the older players, and you hear the way that they talk about it, and, you know, I don't know, it's quite easy and clear for me to see there's some improvements in that area. So if they look at the game a little bit differently, how much better they can get. So that's the first part of it. Then I assess their health and where their body's at. So I send them a fitness testing protocol that they have to do. It doesn't take long, about 30 minutes. And that gives me heaps of information. I can just see by the way their body moves, where the energy leaks are, you know, what's going to be holding them back, and where to move forward and how quick they are. I test their 10-metre sprint times, things like that. So that gives me heaps of information. Yeah. Then from there, I create a program determining on how much time they actually have to train. I've got a young fella in it at the moment who I know is not working, and he wants to train really hard, so I'm training him 5 days a week and getting him into the courts 2-3 times a week, because I know we can use that time now to really advance him. Some people are really busy. I've got one who I know who's really busy, and 3 days a week is, you know, as good as it's ever going to get. All right, so we'll create a program so he maximizes that time, you know, so he knows that in that period he can get the most out of himself, without thinking he's not doing enough. Because I'm working him up on that 10%, you know, giving him the good stuff. If he was in that fitness realm, you know, of those other classes, you know, he's going to get a little bit of adaptation, but 3 times a week's probably not going to make a massive difference anyway. So yeah, individual that way. Then I've got a platform where I keep in touch with everyone, and we talk about all areas of the game, physical, mental, and obviously the body as well. And I troubleshoot, you know, what they're going through at the moment. There's a guy from Singapore who had to travel to New York, and he thought going away for 10 days will ruin, you know, his ability to improve his batting. So I was able to do a video for him on the spot and go, okay, well, this is something you can do in your hotel room for 10-15 minutes a day that I know when you get back, you'll have a better feel of the way you're hitting the ball and a better way of you're moving. So I'm finding that there's all sorts of different problems people are experiencing, and it's really cool to be able to find solutions for them and, you know, keep them going. So there's no real, because we're online, you know, there's no real excuse or barrier to hold them back anymore. We can find a way, you know, so I'm training everyone individually right now because I need to find the common trends. Maybe over time I'll be able to go, all right, there's 3 different programs for the Colts level, there's 4 for the Masters, but right now it's got to be individual. Yeah,
well, that's great, man, because you know, I don't see too many other people around in the market who are doing and dedicating themselves to what you do. So you're going to move forward and progress forward a hell of a lot earlier than anyone else will. And I know that you're very open to talking to other people as well. You know, we've had various chats, I'm sure you have, with many other guys who, you know, more, I guess, you know, have got skills in other areas as well, you know, that you're able to lean on and that.
Well, none of this I came up with myself, right? Not
You
a
didn't
single
invent it,
thing.
or? You sure?
No, there's nothing new out there. But you know, I just love talking to people and finding out, you know, how they look at the game and their experiences, and you know what they can take from it. And I think the biggest thing I've learned, I work with Dre a lot, and we catch up heaps. He's been a fantastic mentor of mine, Andre Adams. We'll sit in a conversation for 2 hours, and he'll be telling me who he's working with over there and how he's attacking it. But the biggest thing I'm getting from him is you question everything. Don't think you know. Like one thing that irked me as a player was a coach telling me what to do, but he couldn't tell me why. You know, then I would back off. But like coaches these days, if they question really well and draw the answer out of yourself, you end up having more buy-in, and you realise, you know, there's more confidence in what you've got. And so my coaching style is very much that I'm going to find out what they know and you know, guide and direct and see what else we can create, because that person might come up with something that I hadn't thought of, but it's a way better option than what I have, you know. So it's very much a collaborative effort.
Yeah, Andre's, I know you've spoken about Andre a few times in the past. He and I have got a relationship a long time ago, to be honest. We don't keep in touch probably as much as what either of us would like to at the moment. Talk a little bit more about him, because his the way he's taken his career from being you know, coaching over here and I guess being predominantly bowling coach orientated, and he's managed to get himself into you know, extremely enviable environment in Australia and Sydney. What are some of the things that he's learning? What are the differences you've seen from him over the years as you've seen him as a coach and as a person?
To be honest, like I think coaching's making a really big shift at the moment in the way it's done. And one of the words you used there was actually he was seen as a bowling coach. I think we're going to find coaches are coaches these days. You don't need a speciality, because it's a way you draw out the answers out of people. That's the skill. You know, you don't need to be the grand poobah of cricket to help someone get better, but if you can question them in the right way, they'll draw out that answer and they'll get better, and you'll meet them where they're at and they'll make that natural next step. And I think that's what I'm learning most from Dre. He never, like in every conversation, he never tells me anything. Never. He asks a question in a different way so I can draw out the answer. And whether he knows the answer's coming or not, I don't know.
Doesn't really matter.
But I'm really resonating with him and understanding and feeling confidence in myself that, you know, I've got what it takes and I can be a good player and I can perform at a high level, because he's proving it to me, because the answer's already there. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest thing I'm learning from him, and I think where coaching will move is that your number one job as a coach is to help get the best out of the player and then collectively get those players to put it together. And when someone's helped me feel like that I came up with it, or if, you know, I have value, or you know, I am good enough, that's when I've tended to thrive. And it was never someone telling me what to do. I really enjoyed Boyster's another one. You know, for some reason I really clicked with him, and he was never someone who told me what to do, but he helped me in feeling the way I needed to be my best.
Rob Boyster?
Yeah. You know, he would work on more of a philosophical level, and you know, like trust yourself and those sorts of things. So Dre does know things really well technically. But that's not what I get off on with him. Like it's the way he looks at it philosophically, which is incredible, and that's where coaching will move towards. He'll have a head job gig very soon.
Yeah,
and he won't be locked into that bowling coach for very long.
That's great. Interesting thing that came up in our chat I had the other night was coaching styles in indoor, and that. I guess we're talking higher level here, where you got full-time head coaches and maybe a full coaching staff around a representative team, and a lot of the typical captaincy duties or traditional captaincy duties have sort of been taken over by or controlled by the coaching staff. I want to be a little bit political about, or PC about my wording here. We've traditionally got a captain on a field, and he'll call bowling shots, he'll call fielding shots, he might get influenced by senior players on the court and some instinct calls maybe from somewhere else on the court, and roll with that and work with all in the game plan, and that's how it might evolve. That's certainly how we do it at a club level. more and more now, certainly with New Zealand setups in the past, and not just present, but certainly in the past as well, where we've actually had a lot of that responsibility has been relinquished away from the on-field captain. Sort of, I guess I'm just fishing for maybe some insight in that, in which way it would work. I haven't really got a right or wrong. I think I'd have my hand up on one way in particular being a better way, but I'm certainly open to the other way as well, where it, might release that pressure off that captain on the field just to get on with his own job as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I value most is that, together we become, right? Like, the more connected we are as a group, the more likely we're going to spring forward so much higher than everyone else. So sometimes in some teams it might mean that one person's going to have to take job, whether that be captain or coach, and they run with it. I personally don't believe that's the best way for a team structure to work. It's not how I did things with Auckland, or how I spoke with the guys in Singapore. I think when you have a really open and honest environment, and you get a group of leaders and make sure there's leadership spread throughout the group, that's when the magic happens. That's when the level goes up so much of a notch. And I think having a leader or a coach or a person right at the top is an old school sort of, what's the best way of putting this? It's sort of a military operation. Whereas now I think things are far more fluid, because decisions need to be made in real time, and you guys need to be open and honest and give everyone the opportunity to make that decision. So, for an example, if you can break down the egos, and you can get away from someone needing to be in charge or whatever, if you can have a group of 3, 4, 5 people who trust each other enough to have open and honest conversations, what I've found is that group, it will then spread out through the rest of the team, because one leader sometimes might not get on with 3 or 4 other people on the team, so it can come across prickly, so they don't quite get the environment they need to play at their best. There might be one other person on the team who thinks, oh man, no, that guy's an idiot, that was a dumb call, but because he's been made it, where am I going with this? That can be a prickly scenario as well. So it's really hard to bring a team together. You've got to be extremely skilled at doing it if you are, but there's a very good chance, I just don't think many people are that skilled. But if you can get 3, 4, 5 people, the coach and manager, 3 or 4 top senior players to work open and honestly, then you're going to get the fruit of your labour, because someone else in the team will be able to talk to one of those people, but that same message is coming across. And there's going to be times where you butt heads, and that's okay, because everyone's just trying to move it forward. So that's my sort of philosophy on it. And why I think it works, we've done it with Auckland a couple of years and we were really successful, in terms of when I was a player, and that 1 year especially as a coach. I was just part of the leadership group. I wasn't the leader or the coach or whatever. I think we do it really well at Saints. There's no real outstanding leader, but we can produce results like we did last year without the cattle, because we were a team and we're a unit, and no one put themselves above or below anyone else. We all felt valued and included. So, long-winded answer to, I think there's a better way of doing it, and I think that'll come out, and a lot of teams professional teams are working that way. And they're starting to get fruits of their labours.
I suppose maybe why you've had captain of teams over so many years in so many different sports, and that sort of, as you put it, like that military style leadership, is that when the pressure's on and you've got your soldiers on the court looking around, looking and seeing who's going to make the right decision, who's going to take us forward.
Okay, so let's play out this scenario just for a moment, all right? So, we're under the pump. The teams, we're playing in the final. The team needs 8, and Victor Davies and Michael Barry walk through. And you're like, fuck. And instead of 7 guys looking at the captain hoping for some inspiration, and then if he doesn't have it there, we're fucked. All of a sudden, I swear, now we've walked into the huddle and we've got 2 or 3 players who are nervous because 2 of the best bats have walked in, but they look into the huddle and they see the eyes of 7 other guys who are ready to go to war. Can you feel even the power in that? You don't have to be that one person. If you create the right environment, it's everyone involved.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I think it came more out of necessity and the way things were structured in the past. It's just the way things were done. And I think there's going to be a big shift towards this now, because you need a collective vision, you need collective leadership, and everyone in the group needs to feel valued for them to play their best. Because if they don't feel valued, they won't play their best, and the team won't perform to their best.
So does that mean, so I guess to another point I was trying to bring up as well, is does that mean that, key decisions on court being made off court and not by the captain, that's a structure you're happy with seeing as well? Because it's done by several coaches around now. Where
this is where there's a breakdown. Like, some people like it, some people don't. But I mean, if we can get in a group of, the top people on the team come together and go, all right, this is collectively what we're thinking about doing, but we trust each and every one of us to make the right decision when it matters. An example was the provincial final 2 years ago. I was coach, Victor was captain, we had a leadership group. And we had a really specific plan for Hamilton and how we were going to bowl to them. We knew that a couple of players would be really important to them, and if they got away, then it would filter through the rest of the team and they'd get a really good total. So we're like, we're going to need to attack these two players to give ourselves the best opportunity. And we came up, so we sat there and go, okay, this is the bowling plan, this is what we think we're going to go with. All right, sweet, let's do it. Myself and Paddy sitting on the sideline, the boys start executing. Third over, I think Craig comes in, bowls a great over. Does a great job, gets a pole or two, and he's got his
Craig Elliott?
Yep. The second pair come in, and we need to attack them as well. And we had our plan, and Victor asked who was going to bowl, and I said, yeah, they bowl that one. And then in his mind, he's like, no, I need to bowl Craig again, he's hot. And so I tell him, no, we're bowling this guy. He goes, no, Craig. I was like, go, all right, go for it. All right, I know what he's trying to do. We know the game plan, and I trust him to make good decisions, even though we planned something before. So it's creating that environment, because you've got to feel it.
Yeah.
Coaches can see but can't feel. Captains can feel but can't see. And so if either one of them takes the sole rein, then you're in trouble, because you're missing a vital option. Like the captain might not be seeing something.
It's not so much they can't. It's probably they feel and see it less, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And certainly the on-field nuances and that feel that you're talking about, the momentum of the game, is more than likely felt more by a captain on court than it is on a coach on the side. So I guess you're right, where you've got that team relationship where game plan's there, it's held by the coach on the sideline, coaches on the sideline, and it's there for reference. But as a captain, you're feeling like it needs to go in a different direction, maybe for an over, maybe for 2 overs, then those decisions are made.
And then trust it and you go with it. And there's no right or wrong. Like at the end of the game, we says, how did it go? And the captain goes, I didn't quite make that call right. I was like, that's all right, sweet, okay. Next time we can make an adjustment, or as a coach, I might go, do you want to know, actually was the right call, it just wasn't executed, so let's go with that again. No, you did the right thing. Yeah, and so important to see that difference as well, whether it's the right decision or not, or whether it wasn't executed. Yeah, and captains can, be hard on themselves. So I've done it as captain myself, going, that was the wrong call, but then Pickard used to be a coach, and said, no, it was the right call. That guy just did a poor job of doing what you needed, So it's got to be collaborative, it makes the ceiling higher on what your team's capable of doing. Cool, man. So about 3 weeks ago, mate, you came to me and had some, part of your new vision for this season and some things to aim for was about renewing your bat. So you've been using one of our Down Up Warriors for about 6 seasons now, maybe 7 seasons? No, I'm pretty sure it was actually your guys' very first batch. Right. It was 2011, so how many seasons is that? Yeah, it's 10. I can tell you what it is a shit ton of throwdowns. So you've told us over the years a lot that you get so much value out of that bat, and how important it is to you around having a bat that you really feel like a way that we've talked about it before is really feeling like it's a part of you. You're at one with a bat. And this season we're gonna do something a bit different and have a look at making you a new one. But you don't want a replica of what you've got. You want something a little bit new, right? Yeah, I just think potentially my game's changed. Maybe, I don't know, but it has. I feel like from a personal level that I'm actually reinvigorating myself, reinvigorating the game, the way I look at it, the way I play, the way I prepare. I'm changing. I'm coming back from I took 2 years off. I didn't really do anything the last couple of years. I even felt bad. I didn't even quite prepare for South Africa the way I should have. But yeah, I want to reinvigorate, everything that I've done. And I'll never forget, when I got the bat the first time. All right. So I remember when you guys came out with the bat, and I was mentioned this conversation before, but we were going away to an Easter tournament. Saints used to always go to Tauranga and play that. And I was waiting for my new bat, and I didn't get one in the first batch. I wasn't going to get one for another couple of weeks. And a guy, Carl Bennett, Spice, he got one from you guys. And I said, look, Carl, I'm going away to this tournament. I really want to, can I try your bat? And I was like, I feel bad for asking, because you haven't even used it yet. And Carl's like, yeah, look, no worries, man, you can have it. Because I just loved the pick-up. It just felt mint in my hands, with a bat, if you have to think about your bat, it's like Harry Potter's wand, right? It picks you. So I've picked the bat up and I was like, yeah, that's really nice. And all I remember is just hitting every ball out of the middle for that tournament. And not saying that in an arrogant way at all. I played some shots that I just haven't played. I was playing drives that would just ping, and it just felt so good. So I had to come back and see Spice after the weekend and say, sorry mate, you're going to have to get another one because I'm going to have this. And then it's got me all the way through to now. It's played the last 3 World Cups. My strength is my batting, so I do feel it's the most important part of my game is the cricket bat. And after 9 years, it was a hell of an investment. I know there's a lot of other bats out in the market, but if I only need to buy one bat and it lasts that long, then happy days.
Yeah, and that's great because we talk about the amount of games you've played, but your first comment was, it's at 1,000 balls a week for 8 years as well. So it's not surprising to us, but yeah, absolutely really, really good to hear the longevity of the bat as well, and the fact that it's lasted you so long. When the Down Up first came out with that design, it was very much very unique sort of shape. It didn't freak people out, but it was very different on the profile and how it looked. But the way it looked happened for an exact reason, and that was about utilising wood into a bat where you need it the most, and getting rid of timber where you don't need it. And in that way, it was always felt that a lighter bat in indoor cricket would be better, not too light, but certainly a bat that you were able to manoeuvre around later in your shot making. Still have really quick hand speed through the ball as well, but being able to hit the ball later. The way the bat's been designed, it's absolutely done that. So we've got rid of timber up the top of the bat. We've sculpted out the profile, having the timber only through the centre of the bat where you most need it. And then even some guys have even played around with the actual length of the bat as well, just to change up. So my bat in particular is just over half an inch shorter. So again, we're reducing weight of the bat, but we're also able to replace that timber that we've taken away from the edge of the bat, not physically, but the actual weight.
Did you put it higher?
We're able to put it more around, so have bigger, thicker edges. So instead of having timber at the bottom of the bat, we can apply more timber in through the edges as well. So if you're someone who likes to play on the front foot a bit more and not only play good strong down ups but also drive to the back net, then we're able to place that timber in particular places on the bat as well.
It actually makes sense now you think about it, because especially bowlers, there's a lot of bowlers that bowl really full, so you need some, do you have it at the bottom? You need a little bit of thickness at the bottom. You don't need it so much in the splice. It's going to be an interesting process putting this together, because what I loved about my bat beforehand is I batted at the end of innings generally, and then I got moved to the opening spot, and now I've gone back to the end, and so I've been able to slightly change my game. So from an opening point of view, generally just dropping the bat on it and making late adjustments because the pace is there, but still having some power in the bat, so later on in the innings you can be a bit more aggressive and you can drive. And things of that nature. So it'd be an interesting process to go through, man.
Also think about if you're going to be opening up or even batting second, we've got a harder ball to hit as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I really love about opening and batting, is that I'm able to use the hardness of the ball. I don't have to overhit the ball because it's going to ping off just that much more harder. Yeah. And that if I concentrate more on where I'm hitting the ball and gapping rather than overhitting and trying to power shots, then that's usually when I'm at my best. Doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, those have been the keys to my makeup. Yeah. The other thing that we have really tried to discourage people about talking about is weights of the bat. So I think a lot of people get wrapped up in having a 2 pound 4 bat or a 2 pound 6 bat, or I use a 2 pound 7, or I use a 2 pound bat.
It's like your own body weight. Like, who cares what the scale says when you stand on it? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, that's exactly
so
right.
that,
so we like to talk about the balance of the bat, the pickup of the bat. So if I gave you 3 bats, and one would be more weighted towards the bottom of the bat, one would be more weighted to middle of the bat, which is probably the most popular, and then you can have one where the weight really feels like it's more up the top of the bat. Traditionally, that will then, you can have a look at the makeup of your game. So as you spoke about before, you're more likely going to be dropping onto shots because the ball's a little bit harder, it's a little bit quicker. You're getting guys probably pitching it up a little bit more because they want it to swing around, the newer ball to swing around. And so you might want a bat that's a little bit more mid-weight, or maybe even higher up the bat, because the bat will feel lighter. It'll feel like you can get through quicker hands as well. And so that balance of the bat is a hell of a lot more important than whether a bat's 2 pound 4 or 2 pound 6. So I think guys just get caught up a little bit too much in that weight ratio.
What does it actually mean? You're right, I've picked up 2 2s before and they feel completely different.
And you could get a 2 pound bat that really is all bottom heavy, and you're just like, but I'm looking for that weight up middle, further up the bat. That's where I feel like I can pick up my bat a hell of a lot more nicely.
It's got me thinking now. So what's the difference between opening the bat and batting in the back end? Like, where would you look to make adjustments when it comes to a bat?
Well, have a think about the type of deliveries you're going to be facing. And now I'm generalising here, but early on you're more than likely going to get slightly quicker bowlers. You're going to get guys that are going to pitch the ball up a little bit further because they fancy themselves swinging it around, and you're going to get less slower deliveries. And those slower deliveries are still going to kick through to the bat a little bit quicker than later on in the innings. So then you can start thinking about, you're traditionally an opening bat, so you've got the skills and the shots that allow you that best suited to that position in batting. But what sort of bat do you need that's going to help you go just that little 10% further? Because they seriously believe that a good bat in your hands can make you that better a player, and play your shots that much better as well.
100%. It's like that. It's that instant confidence you feel. Like that day when it's not just you. Like, I think everyone's had that bat, or picked up a bat, or used a mate's bat where one's come straight out of the middle, and they've just made them feel more confident. I think it's just super important.
Yeah. So have a think about, most of this will be out of history, but also the way you want to play the game. You might want to become a little bit more of an aggressive front foot player. That's the way you want to take the game. Well, what sort of bat do I need that's going to help me do that? The other thing that guys need to think about as well when they're getting a bat made for them is their own physical stature. So 5'8", 5'9" guys like ourselves, a little bit more powerful up top, will need a different type of bat than a 6'4", 6'5", a little bit leaner, looking to just ride over the top of deliveries. They probably need a longer blade as well, so they want to have a think about maybe having a slightly longer bat rather than maybe a traditional standard length bat. So these are the things we'd love guys to start thinking about for themselves. And already we're starting to talk about information where we start talking about a $700 indoor cricket bat. Already you can start seeing the value of how that can work a lot better for you as well.
I've never heard it spoken about. Like, it's just, here's an indoor cricket bat.
Yeah.
They've just all been really generic, and it's nice especially, I see myself as a batsman first, that I actually hadn't thought about that. Okay, let's just break down it's like fitting a golf club, right?
Exactly.
Same deal. Everyone's got this, yeah.
So, just to add something else in. So our bats get made by James Laver, and his nickname's the Mad Scientist. And he's got amazing knowledge of how cricket bats operate and what's good, what's not. And of course, over the years, he spent so much time tinkering around with different designs and what can work, what can't. It's not so good. And one of the things that he introduced to us was about putting in weighted handles. So this is all legal, so it's not illegal. And he's got this amazing bat handle that we get put into our top end blades, and it's a honeycomb handle. It looks exactly like a normal handle. It's a round handle. We can do oval handles as well. When you look down on the end of the bat, you'll see like a honeycomb shaped, hollowed out through the center. And these are actually a slightly heavier handle than your traditional cane handle. And so what that does is when you pick up a bat, and if you imagine there's more weight where your hands are, the bat's going to feel that much lighter as well. So you might get that 2 pound 4, 2 pound 6 bat. It will feel lighter.
Like a 2-2.
If you've got that weighted handle in.
Yeah, and so does that mean I can get more power, or that comes down to bat speed, but more timber behind the ball in a shot, so it's going to ping off a bit better, like it being a bit heavier?
I think it's about bat speed.
Yeah,
I think it's all about hands through the shot.
Handle, it should help with bat speed a bit more, right?
Yep.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So these are the things that when we get to designing your bat, these are the things I want you to have a think about. Talk further on how we go about designing that bat. We'll get James involved as well. We'll have a look at how your bat's going to get made, and then have a look at the process, and then we'll go from there. So
it's
exciting times.
Can we do it today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've never looked back. The best bat I've ever used has been this latest one that I've got. I've had it for 3 seasons now. It just fits. I do feel at one with it. I can't really bat with anyone else's bat.
Yeah.
If that's a restriction.
I just want to know. I mean, most batsmen would say that, because it becomes part of you, right? Like you just know. As soon as you pick it up, today's good. Today's a good day.
Yeah. And the other thing I suppose is if you have batted well with it, especially early on, is that it gives you that confidence that next time you're a little bit nervous, you're not quite feeling with it. But as soon as you pick that bat and get in the box,
my wand will look after me.
Run through your routines. Well, at least my bat's turned up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, cool, man.
Cool.
Probably wrap this one up. It's good chat, man. And where can people find you online? Get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Matt-Henderson.indoor. I'm going to be changing that, working with a marketing company to get a name sorted and things of that nature. Or on Facebook, Matt Henderson Thoughts on Indoor, which I'm definitely going to change as well at some point.
Yeah.
But that's where you can find me. And down at any local indoor centre, probably playing around hitting some balls.
So you're gonna be moving to Mount Maunganui though, right? So you'll be working out of the Bay predominantly.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
You're
gonna play for the Bay?
Well, you put me on the spot here.
If you're
one thing that I'm clear on, I don't mind saying, I would really like to have a crack at this New Zealand side. Last couple of years, I felt like I let myself down. I still you're not too old. I was talking to Vinesh Bennett, and he was 42 at the last World Cup.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm 39 and I'm in reasonably good nick, and if I just put the work in, maybe I'm a chance. So that's my main goal for this year, and I'll let everything else flow from there.
Look at Jay Otto in Dubai as well, man. Seriously, if you've got the goods, there's a lot of guys around the moment who are a little bit older and still playing at a really high level, and are showing that it's, age is.
Oh, like yourself, mate. And another one I'm a big fan of is Grant Doran. I played with him in South Australia. He's a big rig, but every year he comes out and has another crack, and he's playing state level over there.
Yeah.
It's changing, man. A lot more people are going to be doing it because of access to information on how to look after yourself. Plus, you only live once, man. Once you're done, you're done.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of mates. Yeah, I've got a lot of mates who've made that decision, and I don't know, maybe a little bit of them regrets it, but I don't want to have that regret.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks heaps, bro. Awesome. Won't be the last time we ever chat. And looking forward to this season. I think it'll be absolute humding. I reckon there'll be some really cool stuff. It's going to be a lot of international cricket this year as well to watch and stream. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
All right, bro. Awesome, man. Thanks, bro.